Welcome back to Gastro Vision, where we learn endoscopic ultrasound through real clinical cases. Today's case shows an interesting gastric finding. Can you identify it before the reveal? Let's examine the images together. Let's start with our endoscopic view. We're looking at the gastric body, and here we can see a subepithelial lesion with some distinctive features. Notice the surface. The overlying mucosa appears intact and relatively normal in color. The lesion itself has a smooth contour protruding into the lumen. What's particularly interesting here is the presence of what appears to be a central dimpling on the surface of this lesion. This subtle umbilication is an important endoscopic clue. The lesion doesn't appear inflamed or ulcerated. It has that characteristic appearance of something beneath the mucosa rather than a mucosal abnormality itself. Now, based on endoscopy alone, we have several possibilities in our differential. Could this be a lipoma, a gastrointestinal stromal tumor, a leiomyoma, or something else entirely? Let's see what the EUS reveals. Now, this is where endoscopic ultrasound really earns its place as an essential diagnostic tool. Let me walk you through what we're seeing here. First, let's orient ourselves. You can see the probe at the top, and the gastric wall layers are nicely delineated on the right side of the image. We can clearly identify the submucosa and muscularis propria. Now, look at this mass on the left side of the screen. Notice several key features. This is not a uniformly hypoechoic lesion like we'd expect with a typical GIST. Instead, we're seeing a heterogeneous, mixed echogenic pattern with both hypoechoic and hyperechoic areas, creating this mottled appearance. This lesion is arising from and involving the deeper layers of the gastric wall, specifically the submucosa and muscularis propria, the third and fourth layers. Now look at the margins. They're irregular and somewhat ill-defined. The lesion appears to be blending with the surrounding gastric wall rather than showing sharp demarcation. It's almost as if this tissue is incorporated into the wall itself rather than simply pushing it aside. Also notice there's no posterior acoustic shadowing and no cystic spaces. The internal architecture is solid but inhomogeneous. So let's review. A subepithelial lesion with central dimpling on endoscopy, mixed echogenicity on EUS, involving the submucosa and muscularis propria, with irregular, ill-defined margins. What's your diagnosis? What's causing this appearance? Take a moment to consider the findings. That combination of endoscopic and EUS features should point you toward one specific diagnosis. The diagnosis is aberrant pancreas, also known as ectopic pancreatic tissue or pancreatic heterotopia. That central dimpling or umbilication we saw, that's the opening of an ectopic pancreatic duct, creating what's called the central dimple sign or volcano sign. When present, this finding is virtually diagnostic of aberrant pancreas. However, it's only visible in about 40 to 50% of cases, so its absence doesn't rule out the diagnosis. The mixed echogenicity pattern we observed is due to the presence of normal pancreatic elements, acinar tissue, ductal structures, and sometimes islet cells, all creating different echo patterns. This inhomogeneous appearance is a hallmark finding. The irregular margins and involvement of the third and fourth layers occur because this tissue develops within the gastric wall itself during embryonic development, rather than arising from a single layer like most other subepithelial tumors. That was today's case. If you found this case helpful, please like this video, subscribe to Gastro Vision, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next case.